Stupid. Okay, we are here. We're waiting for our. I believe our co-hosts are going to still be coming in here. We got Mike and Matt on the show.
Yeah.
And Matt, you were just talking about your kind of like technical. How did you come into iWatching? I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Katie's here.
Share this real quick. Let the world know we're here. All right. All right. So yeah, this is my brand new iWatch. I found it in the back of my garage while I was cleaning out my garage during the pandemic. Not like in like the front of the garage or like off there, like in the kids' toy box. It was in the deepest, darkest reaches corner of my garage. Like I'm digging through like crap, just boxes. And I'm like, holy God, there's an iWatch laying on the floor. And I'm like, this is my wife's iWatch. It's been missing for like a year and a half. I found it. It's been missing for so long. She gave up any hope that it would be found again, and she got another one. So she has an iWatch. So I found her old one, and I'm like, this is my iWatch now. So I have one now.
Very nice.
So now it's been this process of me being just a tech idiot, which is hilarious because now I'm on this show and I'm trying to figure out, this is how stupid I am. I have to ask Sorg how to silence the ding on my iWatch. Sorg,
it's you and my mom.
Is ringing. How do I turn this off?
You and my mom.
Yeah, it's like
no. The first thing I had to figure out with this one, because I just replaced a Fitbit with this with an iWatch, and at some point we're in bed, we're about to go to sleep. And I have done nothing to, the theater mode or to silence it. And someone calls, and there are lights going off everywhere and weird noises. And Kelly's like, "You need to go leave the bedroom until you've figured out how to turn all that stuff off."
So you were banned. You were like technology banned for a period.
Yes. Fortunately, it didn't. I mean, it's not. It didn't take that long to figure out. But
no. It's not that bad.
I don't blame her one bit because it's exciting when all that stuff goes off at once.
So, I should have set this up before the stream. We'll just go the other way today. So I had a pair of Bluetooth earbuds. They were like some brand I'd never heard of, and our buddy Aaron Wheels from RWA gave them to me, and so I'm playing with them, and I'm like, oh, I can listen to stuff and not bother Missy while she's trying to go to sleep and stuff, like sitting in bed. And so I'm playing with them pretty much in the dark, and then all of a sudden I accidentally like pressed something, and it called 911 at 1 a.m. So I'm like, oh no! I stopped it, and of course they're gonna call back because it's 911. And I was like, no, I was playing with Bluetooth headsets and accidentally called you. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So no, it happens. It happens to all of us.
It does.
So I've managed to get us on Instagram, but we are like super zoomed. So I mean, partial win, I guess.
Too big for the gram to contain.
Too big. Yeah, there it is. There's me showing it off. Hold it. Katie, how you doing?
Good. I'm gonna jump out and back in because my options to mute are just like every time I touch the screen, it's like bloop bloop bloop, like
okay.
It's freaking out. I'll be right back. Maybe.
I think Chilla's still joining us too. So.
Can you kick me out because even like the hang up is not there?
Yeah. Out. 1 sec. Oh, there's Chilla. Hold on. All right, so this will. I hope this doesn't block you.
Well, we'll find
It
out.
says remove. I'm going to hit remove. Hi, Chilla.
She was removed from the meeting.
We are live-ish. It's really bad on Instagram when I have the 4 up of you guys. And back.
Can you hear?
Hello. Everybody's back. Everybody's here.
Now it's working.
Oh, my monitor's not working.
Do you
Welcome to the tech show.
how do you guys how do you get yeah, Chachi, I'm not going to Chachi, how are you on? I thought you had you should be working right now.
Don't you have pickles to be eaten?
What was I going to say? Are you guys good for doing an awesome thing of the week before we get into the heavy discussion?
I have a thing in mind.
You can pull something in. I mean, Matt, you can talk about your watch. I don't know.
I could either. I mean, you guys can make your choice. You could either talk about the iWatch that I found in the corner of my garage, or I could tell you about the TD Ameritrade app I've been playing with, which is the most fun mobile game I've ever played.
Okay,
because I make real money doing it. So.
We'll go with that. Katie, chill. Are you good with a pick?
I'm sure I can pull something on my butt.
Okay.
I'm good.
It's kind of we're kind of off kilter here, so all right, and I'm probably gonna make a little bit of a statement at the beginning of the show while we roll into it. So I'm not doing any ads or anything like that, just the pre-rolls. We're just gonna go straight through and do that thing. And at the end I'll just kind of introduce, because I have a pre-record with Chachi, which I should probably queue up here so you guys can see it here live. This should be the video here, I think. Nope, that's a different video. This should be it here. Yep. It might have a little bit of weird pre-roll on it, so just kind of roll with it if you guys are joining us live. But you're used to that. Come on. This show. Come on. We know what we're getting. Oh. And that is my voice. No producer today. I'm like, hey, we're not going to format. She's like, cool, I'm going home. I'm like, all right. Here we are. And live streaming on Instagram. You have a mystery person in the back, Katie.
Yeah, he's got to go away.
Okay. All right. Here we
Mystery
are.
cats, mystery human.
Are you able, if you guys have any links for anything, can you just drop it in the chat and I'll just follow up with it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're not using the dock?
I didn't prep anything. I mean, are you using the dock? I mean, I didn't give everybody a dock since we weren't really kind of aiming to use it today.
That's cool, because I tried to pull. I thought, no, hold on. I will drop chat.
Okay. We can talk about the moon. We can talk about the launch at least. That's good. That's good.
Ooh, that was fun.
That was
fun.
a lot of fun, actually. All right. So, hey guys, it's time to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studio in Beachview, PA. That camera is off kilter, but hey, here we are. We of course just the program note. You guys may notice we're a day late on everything. We did take the day off, take a moment. Because we did want to observe a little bit of a Blackout Tuesday and kind of observe and kind of take a day, because a lot of stuff, of course, has happened in the last week. Of course, we are very aware of the situation with George Floyd and everything going on. I've been watching everything happen, including here in Pittsburgh, and have a lot of feelings on it. And I hope what we can do, you know, when we do these shows, especially the usual ones we do on Tuesday night with this and the Mayhem show, I usually hope for it to be something to detach people from the things going on in the world. But I feel very strongly that we can't really detach from this. This is kind of the problem that got us to this point. So I feel we're going to have a little bit of discussion today with our guests with a very specific angle, and I hope in the future, whether this show or other things on Sorgatron Media, has always been my personal mission, kind of unstated mission, to help elevate voices that need to be elevated. So it's not just us telling you stuff all the time. So we try to have a little bit of variety to that with this and other projects, and I hope to continue that, and may bring a little bit more of that as appropriate for the framework of this show into the AwesomeCast. Please continue to support. We are thinking of all of you guys out there with everything that's going on, and really appreciate our crew out there, our AwesomeCast friends out there and beyond, wherever you are, wherever you come from. Just want to put that out there before we go. So we're going to try to have a little bit of fun. We're going to have a little bit of serious conversation. I got a pre-recorded conversation with my buddy Chachi for put a pickle on it. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will at this point. But in the meantime, we do have a hell of a crew here on the AwesomeCast. I have with us right now, first of all, from Big Bank International Esquire. He is live from his home work environment in Studio C in the Big D of Dormont. John Chichilla's with us. I think I heard a ding. I hope he's still with us.
You hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Everything's working.
I am here.
Are you back on your old computer? It looks a little different.
I'm not actually on my old computer. What's weird is, for some weird reason, a portion of my dock did not work when I plugged in, and I was in a hurry to join the show.
It's fine. It's fine. It's Wednesday. I threw everybody off. So
yeah.
Good. I'm glad you could join us here tonight, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Also back with us, of course, is the Dutters.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
From Studio D.
A D in the big C.
And D in the big C. And that's Crafton, okay? That's not a reference, or is it? I mean, it's a double meaning, I guess, but awesome. And also with us, we have some this is the journalist episode, because we do want to have a conversation about things going on with journalism. There's a big tech angle for how everything's being captured with all the protests, with all the George Floyd Black Lives Matter protests. So I want to have a good discussion with some experts on that. First of all, back with us, I know so soon, although very appropriate, because I think this is officially the week of our 10th anniversary for the AwesomeCast, and I believe he was the first person on here. Mike Pound from the Post-Gazette is joining us on the show. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and that is that I was on the first show.
Yes.
I don't know if this is the 10th. Is this the 10th anniversary week?
We're usually like somewhere around the CES first, second week of AwesomeCast. So I'm going to just say it is. We're pushing everything to the 500th episode in a couple weeks, but to celebrate and hoping like people can gather, but I doubt by then. But
right.
Mike, thank you for joining us. I wish it was under better circumstances.
I'm happy to be able to help with this one.
Fantastic. And also, I'm sure he's been on one time or another. He's on so many of the shows on the Sorgatron Media Network. Former executive producer with KDKA, and of course, has some friends that were involved in some incidents over the last couple of days. Matt Carlins is joining us. Did I get your tagline right? Did I get the officially official?
You got the former part right. That's the
okay.
Right there, so.
The former.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I've ever been on this show.
Okay.
And I have been grinding in the Sorgatron Media empire for so many years, and to finally reach this is the crown jewel. And it's great to be here.
Excellent. So again, we are going to have a serious conversation, but I do want to, let's talk about some positive to begin with. And there is some positive with the negative and some great things going on around with the world events right now. But in the meantime, please go check it out. I'm just going to do the brief version. Check everything at awesomecast.com. Follow us on the Twitter. We're streaming a lot of places. Actually, we're streaming on Instagram for the first time because Alex Lindsay said we should all break the terms and do that right now. And that's a whole other conversation. I'll tell you maybe next week after I find out if all this works tonight, because I literally found out about it an hour ago and kind of have it working, and my head is so big on my phone right now. That doesn't help. But anyways, go check that out. And above all, I do want to throw out a shout out. Thank you to our Patreon supporters that do support this show and have been even through all the craziness going on over the last several months. Our friends at the Coffee Club, Matt Weller, John DeGore, and John Carmen, and our friends at the Fan of the Show level, Michael Fedor, pghmuseums.org, and Dave Podner is our newest Patreon supporter. Thank you, everybody. If you guys do want to support this show, you can do that over at patreon.com/awesomecast, where we had a discussion with Matt Carlins about how he found some very special technology behind a refrigerator or something in the back of his garage, and now he's using it, and now asks me all the questions about it. So
Clean your garage, people. You never know what you're going to find.
you never know what kind of Apple device that you didn't know was there for the last year and a half and is now in your possession and of use to you. So that's our lesson for today.
I know what I'm doing this weekend. I'm going to clean the garage. That's what's going to happen.
I wish I had a garage. I mean, I didn't know that. This is a benefit I didn't know about owning a garage. All right, guys. First of all, let's get into our awesome things of the week. We just kind of last minute said we're going to do them. But who is prepared with an awesome thing of the week?
I am prepared, and I sent you a link. I don't know if it's in the chat for the meeting. This is definitely a low tech, awesome thing of the week. But it's the purpose here is twofold. Number one, restaurants are going to start reopening. Obviously, people in the service sector have been hit super hard with all the shutdowns. So they're going to be anxious to get back in business and making money and doing it safely. And then the other thing with this list in particular, and the link is to a story that the Post-Gazette put together in February about Black-owned restaurants in and around town, and mostly in Allegheny County. I think there are a couple that are outside the county. When this was published, I freaked out because there's a ton of stuff that I have not been to. We've managed to try a couple before everything got closed. So my suggestion is this: take a look at this list. Obviously, you want to check and see when restaurants are going to be opening again, everything. But it is a thorough look at what these guys do, where they are, what their specialties are. Go pick a place and help out a Black-owned business. That's a thing this week for sure. Help out people who've been working in the service sector because they all need it. And man, go out, leave your house safely, obviously, and go get something good to eat because, man, I could use that right now. The takeout is awesome, and I've been happy to do that. But going out to a restaurant sounds pretty cool right now.
It does. As somebody who was like pretty much tired of takeout at this point, and eating in my car, but no. So I'm starting to see kind of along with that. I can't remember the name of the place. It's like something Cove or something. It's over off Library Road. I know I watched midget wrestling there at one point in the bar. But they have these circles out, and we're like, are they repainting their driveway or something? And I realized that's all spacers for them to put tables out when they're allowed this weekend.
Right. Yes,
I was like,
yes.
oh, there you go. So thankfully we're going into summer, I guess. So we'll see what kind of other inventive ways this is going to be kind of worked out there. And hey, I've said from the beginning, like people are going to have to be very creative in order to do well in this environment, right? And I think that's kind of one of the big things with it. So. It's a great article. I know I've seen this shared around, especially over the last couple of days with everything. So please go check it out. I don't know if this was a list I saw, but I saw our own Musa here in Beachview was listed. I'm not sure what kind of takeout options they have because I haven't seen any signs out front, but definitely a good place to support that I will locally recommend. Excellent. Katie, do you have something that's an awesome thing?
Yeah, I can't send it to you because I'm on my phone with
That's
the
fine.
thingy doodle.
That's fine. I can look them up.
So it is Zigazoo.
Yes. Oh, I had this listed the other day.
Yeah, I was like, let's talk about Zigazoo. So Zigazoo is supposed to be the kids' version of TikTok, and by kids' version of TikTok, it's short video, not as opposed to which. But they're with the kids being at home, they're learning. There's more screen time. Kids are learning more with videos and being interactive with videos. And the way to do it is essentially the parents control who you friend. Your kids will friend other kids that they know. And you're making videos to like, what's the weather? What's your favorite book? So it's encouraging, giving the kids a topic and encouraging them to create a video, short form video, and to answer that question and to be creative and then share it with their friends and watch their friends' videos. And they were talking about, what was it, like 100,000 videos in was it a month time? It was really, really quick. 100,000 video uploads and downloads from the site. Yeah, in 1 month. So 100K videos already.
So what's the time length? We're saying shorter than TikTok makes me think real short.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I didn't download it. I don't think
We're not kids, so it's kind of weird for us to create an account and check it out at this point.
Yeah.
So or have kids or anything. So we should have kicked this to you,
Chilla.
Chilla.
Yeah, we should have gave you this.
Yeah,
This should
you-
be
Yeah,
homework.
I'm gonna have to give this a whirl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they were finding that like Sesame Street, they looked at one of the things with Sesame Street and how they use education videos, and they get the kids involved with the educational videos. And I think it's going to be really neat for kids to use and kind of show off and be creative. It's like a different way to be creative, and it's probably hard. I can imagine Chilla like trying to prompt, let's do this today, or let's talk about this today every day, especially you're
being quarantined makes it definitely difficult, and trying to do our best not to go out and whatnot. It makes it, you definitely build another Lego, play another game, type of thing it's gotten monotonous.
You can only ask, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? So many times.
This is the long run of it, right? Where it's got to be like, okay, we need new things. We need new things, right?
Scavenger hunts around the house for things that begin with different letters. Yeah.
Man, everybody's probably real familiar with every crevice of their house by now, right?
Except for the garage.
Except for apparently the garage. Awesome. Matt, did you have another thing that was not funny you're watching the garage?
Yeah, something that was not the corner of my garage. This is pretty mainstream, but that's my gimmick, so I'll go with it. And about a couple months ago, I grabbed the TD Ameritrade app. I got all that big check from the government a while back, and was just kind of like staring at this, $100 or $200. Didn't know quite what to do with it. And my dad's kind of into financial planning, so he said, just start an account and buy some penny stocks. Basically, buy stock that is priced at less than $1 per share. So you find a stock that's 19 cents a share. You can buy 100 shares for $19. Then you could do that 4 or 5 times. And the theory being, you find 4 or 5 companies that look interesting. You buy some of their stock. If you hit on 2 or 3, it could be a really good time. So I did this. I started this brokerage account and I started poking around, and I realized that I had downloaded the most fun mobile game I've ever played in my life, because I'm playing with real money, my money. And, if it goes away, fine. But I was fortunate enough, I don't know anything about investing. I don't understand all this data they throw at you, dividends, whatever. I know nothing. My theory was look for, stocks that are in my price range, whatever, 30, 40, 50 cents per share. Find a company, find out what they're making, see if I understand what it is they're doing. And if it sounds interesting, if it sounds like something that has promise, snatch up 100 shares or so. And I have, I don't want to brag, I have made a little bit of money trading stock, sitting around in my house during the pandemic. And like I said, this is not the kind of thing that is gonna cause me to never have to work another day in my life. It's just, let's put it this way. Do you like to gamble on sports? Do you miss the sports and you can't gamble on it anymore? Here's kind of like the same kind of thing. And I'm not a gambler by any sense, but this is something to just kind of like, something else to look at on your phone other than your Twitter or your Facebook app too, which is very convenient also. Something else to click. And it is interesting. And I have found some interesting companies, and some of the companies I've invested in now, one's into, thermal scanning technology, which ties into, coronavirus and trying to like scan people as they're entering casinos and arenas, that they're developing technology that will scan every single human being that passes through and would theoretically be able to detect someone who has a high fever before they get inside the arena or the casino or whatever. And another one that's launching a new cartoon network that's coming on there called Genius Brands. I think that's the proper term. But interesting stuff to look into. And if it's, I'm certainly not blindly buying stuff just based on numbers. I'm looking for companies that look interesting, that are making products that look interesting, and you'd be surprised how far, your own intuition can carry you. So yeah, I guess if anyone's ever had the inclination or the thought, don't be afraid. Take $100 if you're lucky enough to have it lying around,
Mm-hmm.
and throw it at a little bit of stock, and you never know what can happen.
It's awesome. It's that. I love the idea of like just poking at something like this. And you see, there is a watch app. I know you're looking for things for that thing in the back of the basement.
For the Ameritrade watch app?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
what I need.
Yeah. But I saw it when we were showing the page there on the video side of things. So so it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? At this point, so awesome. Shilla, you have an awesome thing, and it is related actually to some current events I see.
Yeah, so I had heard Apple did some interesting things in their stores with their devices, and I really appreciate kind of how 9to5Mac covered this as how did they exactly word it? Something about looters working under the guise of protests.
Mm-hmm.
Had stolen a bunch of stuff from various Apple stores. The other thing is interesting on 9to5Mac, if you look at the ad or the picture, it says the message on the device is please return to Apple Walnut Street.
Mm-hmm.
And the store kind of looks like our Apple Walnut Street store. I'm guessing that's a different.
It does, and I don't think we did not have looting in that neighborhood of Pittsburgh. I know that.
Yes, but the interesting thing is, most of the devices that are for sale are under lock and key in the back of the store.
Mm-hmm.
So they were obviously taking the devices off the tables. And as soon as the devices become out of range from the store's Wi-Fi, they go into a lost and stolen mode and are bricks, which I thought was even more interesting. I knew they had some stuff that allowed them to kind of like rebuild the device from scratch with a couple clicks,
Mm-hmm.
but this is even more interesting to me. The other thing they do when those go into that mode is the app that runs on those devices. That's the pricing app. If you've noticed, like if you walk up and you're looking, like there's an iPad there, and when you look at the MacBook or whatever device that has the price of the device on it, the pricing app also acts as a tracking app for stolen demo models and actually has the camera and location permissions enabled by default. So pretty much the devices stolen are just pretty much big or small, not very useful homing beacons.
Well, I always wondered about that because it's just like even with the attachments and the security, you're just like it's not hard to just walk away with one of these demo phones. It seemed, at least. So,
Yeah,
but I guess that's why they're confident in just leaving them there, right?
Yeah, and I'd be interested. Do they have some kind of special thing? The one device that catches me off guard that has no tether, no nothing, is the Apple Pencil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are just laying around the store with nothing. So I just thought this was interesting. It also kind of sheds the light on, is it really worth going to the effort of trying to take one of these devices, let alone smash in the windows?
And that's the thing. And so the article you put, it says that Apple needs to publicize more what happens to deter robbers.
Yeah, and that's a very, very interesting point, because when we think back to the iPods of a long time ago and iPhones when they first launched, when there was the kind of theft in the subways and theft on the streets, and
Mm-hmm.
people were actually getting physically harmed for their device.
Yeah.
Apple did quickly respond and put device and activation lock on. This is just one more thing, but I've never heard about it till this point. So I do agree that it would be very beneficial for them to kind of talk through, what happens to one of those devices.
Mm-hmm. Good to see. Good to see. All right. So while we have whatever's going on here on the planet the last few months, two people escaped. Bob and Doug is my awesome thing of the week. They are first, and we were calling about. They were supposed to go up, I think, last month, but that got called off, or maybe it was last week actually. It was last Wednesday, because I remember having a timer for it, and I was hanging out with Kraus. I was like, I'm going to miss the launch because we have an appointment. But thankfully it moved, And Bob and Doug, the first astronauts in, I think it was 9 years from the Florida coast on U.S. soil, going up in a SpaceX Dragon capsule. So history made. I watched the stream. I actually watched the stream on my phone, sitting in the back of the car at a state park over the weekend, which was a fun kind of experience too. So did you, any of you guys watch along with the launch or catch up on the footage or anything along with that?
I'll tell you what is really cool is that my 10-year-old son knew about the launch and knew what time it was going off, 3:22 in the afternoon on Saturday, right? And was sure to like lock that into his brain. So like once he's set on something, he will remind you immediately when it happens. But it was cool to see him get excited about it too. The other thing that's awesome is seeing the launch, whatever they want to call the bottom half of the rocket, return to base. That is, I can't even imagine they even thought that was possible, but to be able to pull it off is amazing.
That's not how that used to work either. I remember Apollo launches when I was your son's age, you know? And just being so fascinated with the whole thing. It's really cool. We actually had stopped at a friend's house, and they have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they were both totally into it. And to me, that's one of the coolest things about this is that there's another generation that gets to see this stuff happen, and then old people like me can explain to them how much has changed, and how the rockets didn't used to do that. They just thinking of the pieces fell down in the ocean and someone had to go get them. But yeah, it's such a cool thing to see again.
I'm guessing that also back then wasn't streamed in 4K.
No. grainy video from Florida, but we did the best we could.
Absolutely.
I wasn't.
Good.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was impressed in the quality, in the longevity of how long you actually got the video feed for, even for the rockets breaking off and landing. Like it was like right before it came back in and landed, at least in the feed that I was watching, where it actually got cut, and then they actually cut to another camera. Quality was amazing. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I seemed to be everywhere, it was very accessible as well.
Yeah, I was watching it over on Facebook, and it was so cool. And watching them just use the touch screens and just like, and they let their little dragon friend go when they had zero gravity.
I saw that thing I saw one of those for sale. I don't know if it really is for sale, but I saw a link to a Tesla site or some site where you could buy that shiny dragon.
But I think it's the shiny dragon that you can buy at like Barnes and Noble and everywhere else, like because those little shiny animals are everywhere now. It's my knockoff.
Yeah, it was fun to see that, and I didn't stick around to. I did check in later that night because I know they explained they were going to stay with them more or less until they docked the next day. And I think I saw, did somebody bump their head getting on the space station? So, because there was some meme about something like the same thing happened like somewhere else, like another launcher.
It was a Star Wars.
Well, oh, it was a Star Wars. That's right.
Yes,
it was a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
What?
But though the connection for that was tremendous, and again seeing the launch that and this is the first launch I believe since I got to see the one in early March down in Florida. Like you're watching that feed as you're watching the rocket go too. Even there with that little bit of delay, it's so fascinating, and it is like that new awe. Like so many kids are going to be turned on to space from this because it's so accessible now. And we're doing stuff, and I think it's so important because people were just, another rocket test blew up, I think last week for SpaceX, right? So it's so important because people just think, oh, SpaceX, those are those rockets that keep blowing up when they're trying to land them on the ship, right? Because that's literally all you see shared sometimes. You have all the basics, basically the SpaceX fails and crashes, but then knowing that this was I believe the 51st rocket that has landed successfully out of all these launches. So this is how it works. It is working. We safely sent 2 people to space with this stuff that you saw blow up all these times. It's like, how do you think we get there? We blow up a bunch of shit, so it works. Like, we know that works, before somebody's on the other end of it. No, good to know that all of that worked out. And also weird to watch Space Force over the weekend alongside that for no real connection, but that's also fun too. All right. So with that, we're not going to get into any commercials or anything this week. We're just going to break format a bit here. So I thought it was really important, and the reason we have Mike and Matt on is really kind of the journalism side of things, and kind of the looking at, there's been all of the protests and everything around the protests over the last week. We are, I think, officially on day 8 or 9 of consistent daily action going on here. I have been, I'm going to leave it to you guys, the experts here, but I get this feeling that, both good, bad, and indifferent, like, not a lot of people can hide what's going on out there with as many cameras are in there. And I remember an early conversation, maybe on that first episode of AwesomeCast 10 years ago, where we talked about the prevalence of these things in our pockets and how the cameras were going to completely change journalism. And this really feels like one of the biggest inflection points with it, right, Mike?
Absolutely. I don't remember who to attribute this to, but a relatively well-known black man, I can't remember who it is, made the point that nothing has changed over the years except that everyone has cameras. So when these things happen, they used to happen in the dark. It's easy for whoever the bad guys are to deny what the accounts or eyewitness accounts. But now you've got cameras. Everyone has one of these that they carry around with them all the time. I think it is Will Smith. I think it is right. But it's so there's no place to hide. That means a lot of stuff for us because you still have to be aware of context, and especially dealing with video stuff. Matt might even have more experience with that. Although the technology has changed to the degree that the Post Gazette, the newspapers, if you're not using this stuff, you really need to figure out what you're doing. But yeah, it has changed everything, and it'll continue to do that.
Yeah, it's changing journalism. It's changing journalists. The people who are actually out there.
Oh, losing a little bit, Matt. Uh-oh. Coming back?
It's frozen on my side.
Okay. All right, just making sure it was consistent. So, well, hopefully he rolls back here in a minute here. It looks like he's been having some issues with the video here throughout. Let me check him on the other side. But yeah, and I know Matt and I have had this conversation. I've been texting back and forth with this, and I know it's seeing everything consistently happen. I mean, not just the cameras, but also the ability to kind of see literally what's happening worldwide, as things were just concurrently happening across, especially over the weekend. I mean, and I don't even know what the height has been. This has been like, whether it was Saturday, Sunday, or it's still just kind of consistent at this point. But just seeing feeds that were just like, I think he had a feed that he shared was a watch party. I hope he can come back and talk to us about. That was literally like 4 different feeds from all over that somebody was watching all at the same time, and you could drop into the watch party and see those kinds of things. I worry that it becomes a little bit of news porn at that point, but which has got to be a concern as well, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we can reproduce and what we can use and how we use it, you have to be aware of you still have to be aware of context. You still, want to have a thorough understanding of who you're watching, who is taping, who is streaming. On Saturday, I've been able to switch back and forth between the stuff on the KDKA's 24-hour news operation, and they just have a feed from the helicopter going, so that's helpful. But then I can also switch back and see a couple of friends who are protesting. I can see where they are, and they're offering whatever commentary they can. But so those are sources that I think are trustworthy, or at least known. You understand where they're coming from. You do kind of have to be aware of just grabbing stuff, and that's an extension of what we've always done. Right? If you're approaching this in the correct way, you have to be careful about who your sources are. You have to question question what the police account is, question what the witness account is, think about who these folks are, what their point of view is. It doesn't necessarily disqualify anybody, but you do have to consider, and consider that stuff. Have to be skeptical of everyone, even when we have just this mountain of stuff coming at us. You have to really work to vet what you're going to put some credence in.
And I think Chilla, you dropped in the chat. I think you're right with that quote that you mentioned there.
Yes.
That was Will Smith that said that racism isn't getting worse; it's getting filmed, which partially becomes a relief until you start actually seeing it. Matt, I think we got you back on here. I see you're still on mute. There you go. You had a very important point I'm sure we're trying to get to before your Wi-Fi apparently dropped off.
Yeah, apparently my Wi-Fi just kind of
you look much better now.
I guess I was hooked up to, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm on the wrong show right now, so it's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of funny that I can't get out of my own upstairs office, but I've spent the last couple of nights watching these guys and girls on their phones from Lafayette Park, wandering around with their cell phone, just perfectly clean feed coming through. And sometimes I'm like, I have got to be missing something here sometimes. Don't quite have the full thing. I mean, the point I was starting to talk about, I'm not sure how much I said before I glitched out on you guys, was just that not only journalism is changing, but the journalist is changing. So you not only have your mainstream outlets that are out there that you would expect to see, your big networks, you've got another tier down that are maybe just these over the top kind of platforms that are not your traditional print. These are websites turned multiple ways of just pushing out their content. And then you've got another level down, which are just kind of these citizen journalists that are just out there because they want to cover the news and they've got their followers. And it's interesting, just speaking back to the stuff outside the White House just a couple of nights ago when there was that big fire raging, and I'm sitting there firing through Facebook Live, and I'm watching one dude who's bilingual and is speaking Spanish half the time and speaking English the other half, and it's just him and his phone wandering through the park, and he's right in the middle of it. And you go to another person who's kind of maybe more of a podcaster type who's out there, and he's got his YouTube channel and his thousands of followers who are all watching in that moment, and he's at another level. And you got you could flip over and then you see the networks and they're putting out their things, and it's just it seems silly, but it's almost like you're just sitting there with your remote control at home and you're just flipping channels going back and forth. Where's this dude? And you see a puff of smoke in the background on MSNBC, and you're like, oh, I wonder if that's near what's his name, and you flip back to him to see if he's anywhere near it. And that's literally what I was doing just a couple nights ago.
You're playing a little bit of news director. It looked like on Watch.
Yeah, a little bit of line producer too, where you're
Okay.
just kind of like sitting next to the director and like, hey, let's go to the other thing. Yeah, a lot of that too.
There's an idea for a new social network app where you just pretty much mesh all people in a geographic location, kind of how they do with Maps and Snapchat, but with all live feeds, and you can just circle through everybody's cameras.
Well, isn't that what somebody was doing that with concerts, where everybody is filming with the app on their phone, and then after, like, they could take all that footage from all the cell phones and stitch it together into one coherent music video, ideally, right? So, I mean, like, I guess you could do the same thing for news, especially something like this that's very location based, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think was it Attack of the Show that used like stick cam, and you could log in via stick cam and watch multiple angles of the feed while they filmed live.
That sounds right. There's a few of those where you can like pick your camera and do that kind of thing, right? So, yeah. So I mean, it's, we're kind of at a big point with this. Of course, there's a difference because you do have the people that are out there in the middle of things, but there's also been a lot of concern over the journalists themselves. Matt, I know you knew the first people that were attacked here in Pittsburgh up by the arena. I think it was around the incident with the infamous police car fire that happened too.
Yeah, scary. And just kind of like one of those things where, you're looking away for a minute, and the next thing you know, my wife is hollering in from the other room, and she's like, "Oh my God, there's, Ian's in an ambulance, he got beaten up," and I'm like, are you serious? I've been doing the TV news thing. I had been doing the TV news thing for about 20 years or so. I feel like I've seen a lot of incidents of, people I know, people I don't know, running into, angry people of one sort or another. And, but to hear the description of what happened to Ian and Paul during that protest up near PPG Paints Arena was just, it's scary. And what made it even scarier for me is when when later, one of the guys from the Penguin, I think Kevin Acklin, he puts out a still from the security cameras, and you get a look at Ian in that moment of confrontation, and the first thing that strikes me is Ian's out there, and it's just him, and he's just out there in his shorts and his cargo shorts and his shirt and his hat, and he's got nothing, no enhanced protection for himself, knowing what they were going into, and knowing what had happened the day before and the day before that. And that's not me criticizing Ian or Paul or anybody else who's in those, because it's not my place to say. Whenever I was, managing things on the newsroom side at KDK, my philosophy when it came to crews in the field and their safety was always, it's your call. I will tell you where I hope you are. I hope you're on that person's front lawn, but if you are fearful for your safety and you do not want to be on that person's front lawn, I'm not going to tell you to go on that person's front lawn. If you don't want to be in this neighborhood at 3:00 in the morning, I'm not going to make you go there. I will.
I have some Wi-Fi issues with him again, so
I know exactly. I mean, to see what happened with Ian, and to hear about that, at the same time, when I've got at least a dozen colleagues who are downtown, shooting around the arena, photographers around the arena, reporters are kind of stationed around downtown as the group moved through, and that is something that's different. We run into people who try to intimidate us a lot. We run into people who want to threaten us. There've been a couple instances where I've kind of been concerned about, my own personal safety, but it's most of the time it's been just bluster and I don't know what's different this time. We were kind of talking before the show that this incident and what has happened after, it feels different. It feels bigger. I made a comparison to 1968 and the riots that occurred after Martin Luther King was assassinated. Mm-hmm. And I think there are parallels there, and especially since the reaction to this one is and not just national but international. So it is what happened with Ian is. I mean, I know it does happen, and certainly we're seeing a lot more videos of police confronting journalists in whatever cities there are. Again, that's not necessarily a new thing. Police violence against journalists, yeah, maybe that is. But this is stuff that's not that is. I haven't experienced anything like what Ian did. And that is a whole other level of problematic that I don't know where it comes from, but it's definitely going to be something that we need to think about as we cover this stuff from now on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like from what I'm seeing, there's like sort of a safe zone established typically, and that seems to be like there's a journalist go over here kind of situation, and that seems to be kind of not being observed.
Sometimes, I mean. The photographers generally will kind of wonder, and because they want to get they want to get the nice shot of the graffiti police car that's on fire, and you can't do that from 2 blocks away,
right?
So they're those guys especially are gonna kind of put themselves in the middle of everything. It makes them more vulnerable, no question, but as I said. What happened on Saturday is something that I had not seen before, and immediately I started thinking about I know this guy's working, she's working. I hope everybody's okay. I'm not working, but I'm sort of checking email at work just to see who has checked in and said they're doing all right.
It looks like, I mean, this is based upon my observation between what the it's with the violence with the journalists and the writers and the journalists and the police is they are going after the video end of things. They're not going after the photo guys and gals. They're going after the video people. And it's like, what's your angle? Because you still have because I think they're trying to like get, even though there's so much with quote unquote fake news in every station, yes. But they're trying to stop that message from getting out to the news stations and discredit all of the eyewitness videos that we're seeing on social media. And I mean, that's just my observation with things, but it seems like
I honestly don't know what the point is. We're talking about how ubiquitous these things are now. If you're trying to shut down like official accounts, you're trying to keep the Post Gazette or the Trib or KDK away, or what does that accomplish? Mm-hmm. You still have another several thousand people who are taping everything that you do. So there's a lot of this that doesn't make sense. I guess you kind of feel like they're, whoever they is, are trying to understand and cope with these changes as well, just as we're grappling with the same stuff.
Mm-hmm. Matt, I think we got you back on there.
Yeah, I apologize. I just, and there was one key point I just want to make before the Wi-Fi kicks me off of this show again. It's just that, I mean, any station manager or news director in any TV newsroom in the country right now, it doesn't matter how big of a market they are, doesn't matter how close to this they feel they are, if they haven't already, they need to be looking at their safety precautions for their employees when they're out in the field. Mm-hmm. They need to be looking at their building security, even if it's as simple as just the GM and a handful of people walk around the perimeter of the station grounds. You need to look at this stuff. You need to anticipate what could potentially happen. and what could, come to your doorstep. You need to be thinking about helmets. You need to be thinking about protective gear if your crew's out in the field. You need to be thinking about having, professional security escorting your crews around the field. I know that the networks are doing things like that. I know MSNBC and CNN are definitely doing that, especially in the larger cities. Smaller markets where they've got these MMJs, the quote unquote, the one-man bands, kids, which sounds derogatory for me, coming, old crusty new people like me and Mike, kids in Market 300 straight out of college who just want that first job, who are willing to lug around their own camera and all their own gear and report the story alone by themselves, going to places they aren't familiar with. That's dangerous. And look, I mean, the business is going in that direction, and I don't know if that genie is ever getting put back into the bottle, but there's got to be steps that you take to at least, educate, inform your crews and prepare them for the worst when it could happen. And getting back to Mike's point about just photojournalists, I've met some photojournalists who are very careful and will not take a risk, and I've met some crazy people. You put a camera in their hands and they will climb over 6 hills to get a shot.
Yes.
Some of these people are just wired that way, and they will put themselves in positions maybe they shouldn't be. But you know what? When you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, some of these guys, and you've gotten away with it 99% of the time, you're gonna keep doing it. There is that feeling of, I don't want to say invincibility, but that feeling of, I know what I'm doing out here, and I know, the best way to get out of that. So it's just, like so many other things right now, it's a time for self-reflection, and it's a time to, take a look at your own house, metaphorically speaking, and figure out what needs to be addressed and what can be done better.
Absolutely. Well, if anybody is looking, whether they be a employee journalist, a citizen journalist, these things are not stopping. We're going to be having protests until I would say until things are solved, but I know that is an impossibility at this point, or unrealistic, maybe expectation at this point. These will be happening tomorrow. I know they're happening through the weekend here in Pittsburgh. Do you have any tips for those people that are going out there, whether it be for safety or whether it be, whether aspect of what to expect if they're like, hey, these are happening, I need to go do my part and capture this?
Well, I mean, just one thing real quick is, and one thing I've seen a lot, you saw it when Omar from CNN got arrested, and members of his crew got arrested, and I've seen it with other crews out in the field live, as police are trying to, however you want to state it, impose their will, enforce whatever rules they think they need to enforce on people. One phrase I keep hearing these reporters saying to the police is just simply, where do you want me? Just tell me where you want me. Because look, I mean, we're pretty flexible people, we usually don't need to be in this very spot to get the story. Sometimes you can be, 10 feet away. So if it's better that I'm, over here 10 feet away, then so be it. So, I mean, not everything has to be a confrontation. Where you've got to stand your ground. I mean, you gotta, where do you want me? I mean, I heard, just like, what do you want us to do? Where do you want me to go? And if they're not willing to tell you, then just keep asking. And, the other thing too, that's been a key for a lot of these journalists that have run into trouble is just like having those credentials front and center, visible, not tucked inside, not like the lanyard and then tucked inside your shirt, out front and center, visible, so everybody knows who you are.
That doesn't even seem to help anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes no. Sometimes it doesn't. We were able to prepare for the Antoine Rose verdict a little bit. This obviously, you don't prepare for the death in Minneapolis. You don't prepare for what it's just that sort of happens organically. But here's the thing. Here's a trial. We know this is coming. We had for the reporters, photographers who were going to be out, we had like neon vests that say press on them. You know, it is, and some people we tracked down helmets for a few people too, depending on where they were going to be. I know that's not a practical thing for everyone. It's not a practical thing necessarily for a smaller operation. And if you're just out doing it on your own, you know, that can be a tough thing to it's an expense and stuff you got to track down. To those guys, I would say really, it's easy kind of to be myopic and focus on what you're shooting, but you really got to make sure you're watching everything. Watch where the police are. Watch, you know, is there a group of people that's especially angry or that kind of sticks out in some way? You know, it feels like a lot of the stuff that happened on Saturday was a group that was mostly separate from the protesters. You know, that's stuff that you know, if you notice that and you're like, okay, this is weird, and if you feel that, if you sense that, you're probably right. And it's best to kind of to heed those instincts, and make sure you give those folks a wide berth.
I get this. I've never been in this situation. I've never been at this mass scale of a protest kind of situation or these kinds of. I ran from a tear gas once. It was an ICP gathering show in Toledo one time that went bad. But other than that. Other than that moment of running 20 years ago.
Did you spill your Faygo?
It was already spilled. It was during the concert everywhere. But I feel like, you know, I remember going to concerts and, you know, I would always be in the mosh pit, near the mosh pit. And there was always like, you kind of have that head on a swivel kind of feeling, peripheral idea of, okay, that guy over there is bad news. You know, he's going to jump in and swing it in, you know, at people, doesn't care, you know, that kind of thing. Like I not being in a lot of that situation, that feels like that kind of vibe when you're out in the middle of something like this. Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff you have to be, that you want to be mindful of. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the people who catches the stuff that's filed and posted on the site, and yeah. So I'm not out there these days, but yeah, you know, if there's something that says those police officers are you know, they're massing over here, and you have this group of these guys don't look like everybody else, and they're kind of huddled over here. You know, just if it feels weird, mm-hmm. It's worth being careful. Yep, absolutely. Well, Mike, Matt, thank you so much for coming on, having this conversation with us. You know, I hope it helps people kind of understand what's going on a little bit more from the ground level, and you know, and those are going out. Hopefully, it didn't inspire anybody to go out there and being unsafe if they weren't already. But you know, at least on this side. But you know, but I'm glad that we can hopefully help with that. So, Mike, of course, you are with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, mm-hmm. And you write some fantastic newsletters over there. Please, where can people sign up for that?
Hit the homepage. There's a newsletters button. If you subscribe to PG Feed, that is me almost every single day. I do the weekend events newsletter too. Even when there are no weekend events, as it turns out, I can still write a weekend events newsletter. So
you've gotten really good at that now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I practiced the last couple months. So yeah. Matt Carlins, he is not in the TV news biz, but he is in the podcasting biz now with his show that he does on Thursday nights.
That's right. We're doing the Listen to Your Parents podcast. We've been doing it ever since the lockdown started. It's been interesting. Just hanging out, talking to parents about what it's like getting through this crazy thing. Feels a little trivial right now, but we'll be back on Thursday night to live stream another episode and talk about what's going on in our worlds. And if anyone out there is looking for a crusty old news person, hey, I got time on my hands, so look me up.
There you go. There you go. We'll get you on the rounds. And Katie, Katie's
Hi.
Katie's update. Oh man, I had that learned up. You're still giving your updates, including leggings and cactus socks. I think I saw today.
Punny socks.
From your or what?
My punny socks.
Your punny socks.
My cat pun socks.
For your trips. Where can people find you out there?
Kate Marie PGH on Instagram mostly. Most of my stuff there.
Fantastic. And John Chilla on the Twitter.
Josh Chill on the Facebooks.
There you go. So we are going to kick over to something I recorded with Chachi on his YouTube show. Put a pickle on it for something completely different. And until then, you guys check this out, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, for you guys live, we are actually going to kick to that. We do the world premiere right now.
World premiere.
And we're going to kick to that, the raw footage from that yesterday, going out to you live right now.
The camera.
All right, record. Don't broadcast.
I'm not using the camera on the laptop because that's just not quality.
Oh yeah, that's the rule.
It's not a quality camera. It's just crap.
It's I mean, it's mostly okay. I mean, you're not 100%. I'm getting a little bit Oh, hey, you know what? Before we go, check your settings. Go back into that settings. And there's a thing that tells you about quality that you're sending and receiving. Double check what that's set at. I'm guessing. Oh, you know what? My receive resolution's at 360. I need to fix that. That might be on my end.
Yeah, I have everything up as high definition.
You looked better for a moment there, at least. Now I know I'm sending everything at lower to help things.
Do you want it at lower?
No. Make sure your send is high.
Okay. Yeah, everything is high.
That might explain why everybody looked the way they did last week. So give that a minute. That might kick in here, but you're good otherwise.
Okay.
Hey guys, we are here through the time warp on the AwesomeCast. I know I'm sure we're coming from a great conversation that we're having on Wednesday night, but I didn't want to pass up an opportunity that Chachi had a day off, and we never get to have him on the AwesomeCast. So I wanted to at least honor that, even though we're jumbling things up because of things are crazy in the world right now. But Chachi is with us on the line on his rare day off.
What? Yeah, it's crazy. It is 2:35 p.m. I'm typically 25 minutes away from going to launch. And right. I have nothing to do today.
To be clear, like you serve a very West Coast clientele currently, so that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, my whole thing. I live on West Coast time, so the California office is getting in at 8 o'clock. I'm logging in at 11 to meet their needs.
I'm not sure that we're doing it on the show this week. You will know by now. But I kind of wanted to ask, and I didn't prep you for this, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the project you've been working on for the people. I know we mention it every week to give you a shout out to go check it out. But I wanted to talk. Do you have an awesome thing from this project for Put a Pickle on it, like something that's helped you along the way, getting this off the ground or something?
Not really helped. It's the entire thing is shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was gonna wait, but this fits. We'll just go right into it. But, so this whole thing started as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the kitchen. I was making breakfast, and I saw the jar of pickles in my way, and I don't know if you ever get bored and just start singing songs about everything you're doing, but I grabbed the pickles to move them out of the way so I can get something behind it. And I started singing a song about putting pickles on eggs. And that's when I text you.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're at the point in our relationship where you're creating content and I'm creating content. And I have ideas for content that I necessarily don't want to create. But I think someone should. So I'll send them to you. Because if anything, you're going to be the one who creates the content.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to enjoy it and laugh.
Yeah.
And most of the time, thankfully, you don't take me seriously.
I'm the filter. I'm the quality filter, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, Yeah, I've come up with a handful of ideas. Some of them good, most of them not good, and it just happens. And then I sent you this idea. You gave me the standard response. I don't even remember what it is at this point. And then I'm like, okay. And then I told Chris, and she laughed and thought I was joking. And then I tweeted about it or something, and there was more people who were like, yes, you should do this. And so one day I was out, I made a list of 5 objects for the first week, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to film this, and then we're done. And then the internet started watching it, and everyone started sending me suggestions. And at the end of the first week, I had 60-some suggestions. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do this now.
And that's it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have 25 episodes filmed. 22 of them have posted.
And this is, this is just, you have a food item, you put a pickle on it. It's a simple thing, but I feel like this is like, there's shows like this. There's like these food shows. Our friend Dave Podner, that's in our chat room, he's been doing like these kind of taste test videos, and I kind of jokingly sent him a video entry one time to, and I meant to do one for you, but then you came up with something even better. So like, I love that this has become, and this may only be in our circle or our extended social media circle, and that's fine. I mean, you have, like, last I checked, 74 subscribers on the Twitter or on the YouTube. I know you moved to Facebook. Like, this is just a fun thing to entertain us, and that's okay, kind of thing, it feels.
So the goal originally was, because it was mainly on YouTube, and the way this whole project has worked is from the beginning, each week we improve just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, just a little bit. Like the first week, no intro, no music, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if we had credits the first week. But so
and this is you. I really haven't helped. I really haven't helped.
When I say we, I refer to the show in a royal sense. So anyone who I talk to about it gets included in the circle, and it becomes we. It's not me. It wouldn't exist if it weren't for the audience. Mm-hmm. So it's just we. So the first week, nothing, just the video posted to YouTube, moved on. Second week, intro page, basic music, basic credits page. And then a friend whose son has always supported anything I do. He was there at most of the Chachi plays. He likes me because I'm a child at heart, and we play video games together whenever we're together. It's just one of those things. He's really artistic, and so he drew an intro. Like the intro page that we use, he drew. He came up with, he designed it. We had video chat meetings about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sent me his mother sent me what he drew. I had her scan it in. He sent it. I used it as the intro. That was last week. Last week, I sent it off to a graphic designer who I'm working with to actually design a logo and actual show graphics, and had her digitize it.
Oh.
And I mean, it's a slow thing. And that's the way it's going to be. Little by little, we are just improving little things.
I found the original text, by the way, that I received from you. I did. Back on May 1st at 11 a.m. Put a pickle on it. A short show at an interval to be decided, in which I eat different foods with a slice of dill pickle on top. The food could be anything from standard chicken nugget to a peanut butter cup, which I think you've done both of those by now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those were, yeah.
And my response was simply pickles and mayonnaise.
Yes.
Because that is an old Newgrounds video that we used to watch back in the day, and that was was it Idiots Anonymous? Was that the old show?
It was Idiots Anonymous.
Oh god, that's got to be somewhere. That's somewhere on the internet, I'm sure. It was Flash animation at the time, so yeah. And then there you go. I mean, I think I brushed it off because the next picture I sent you was the GameCubes that I let you borrow.
Yeah. Like I said, sometimes my ideas they are okay, and sometimes they're not. And then sometimes I go through it anyhow, and now we're here.
So I feel like as I watch this, for a while I drug you along on this show concept we did for the Pittsburgh Foundation called Unsung, where we made you host for a while. So
yeah.
like I feel like those hosting skills that you developed over the 60 some episodes of that we did came in handy, because your mannerisms in hosting, your pause. I crack up every time. It's like, and then we put a pickle on it. That's right.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, even from the beginning, I've acted like it was already a show.
Mm-hmm.
I went into it on the belief that it was already a show. There was already an audience,
yes.
And they were already playing along.
Uh-huh.
So, like, it was like a normal game show where they say the tagline. It's like call and response. I say the call, the audience has the response, and then we move on with the show. Regardless of the fact that it was episodes 1 through 5,
mm-hmm.
and when I was recording those episodes, no one had seen it.
Yeah. You gotta plant the studio audience for the first few.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, the only people who saw this before we launched it, you got the Cool Ranch episode,
mm-hmm.
As soon as I finished it. And executive producer, the wife, was out of town when this happened. Like, she was not even home. She was out of town for work. And so she requested that I do the lemon, because we had lemons around, and she was trying to get rid of them. And she was like, here, you should put a pickle on a lemon. I'm like, okay. So, I mean, that worked out. So she got that episode sent to her as soon as it was finished. And then, based on the responses of just those two, I knew it was something that I had to do.
Awesome. You already 3 weeks into this thing, 4 weeks into this thing, already had a run-in with your platforms, it seems.
Yeah. So the first couple weeks, the first 2 weeks were test weeks. I used the old adage that you and I came up with when doing any content creation. Give it 10 episodes. If you still want to do it after the 10 episodes, then you start gathering an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can start pushing it. And that's what I did. The first 10 episodes were posted. People were watching it. I mean, the first episode had 100 views within 3 days. And just in my circle, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm thinking, 10, 12 people are going to watch
And that's
this.
on YouTube. That's not nearly as easy on YouTube.
Yeah. And it was on YouTube.
You probably would have had 100 easy if you just posted it on your personal Facebook, to be clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so after the first couple weeks, I realized that we had a show. People were going to watch the show. And it was for all audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get to that in a moment. And I'm not talking local. It may be my circle, but it's worldwide at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So after the first 2 weeks, I'm like, all right, well, if we're going to build an audience, we're going to build an audience. And I'm like, so one of the things that we need is a custom URL on YouTube, which is a crock of bull, by the way. So if you haven't done it, in order to get a custom URL on YouTube, you need a few things. You need custom art. Not custom. You need art. You need a watermark, and you need a banner for the page.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need an icon for your page. Fine. That's easy enough. I'll throw something together in Paint. We'll move on. Done. You have to exist for a month. Fine. Nothing I can do about that. We'll just wait. And then the last one. You have to have 100 subscribers. That's the difficult part.
Yeah.
Because you actually have to go out, you have to grind, you have to advertise, and you have to beg.
Yeah.
That's fine. I have begged people on the internet for things for years. I have no problem doing that.
Raised a lot of money for charity that way, actually.
Over $15,000 over the years. So yeah. I'm okay with begging on the internet. So I do that, and we're getting close. And then to buck the system a little bit, I started getting all of these follows from the Sorgatron Media family, which YouTube took as spam.
Oh, sorry about
And
that. Sorry
I'm not
about
worried
that.
about it. It's not your fault. They're legitimate accounts if their algorithm would
And they're
just
all
take
still
a look.
subscribed too. I don't understand. Like they
Right.
didn't unsubscribe them for me. I'm still in all the systems.
Yeah. So YouTube read those as spam, removed those and about 10 others.
Oh,
So it took us from like 83 subscribers back down to like 68, which ultimately upset me. I'm like, you know what? If you don't want me to use your platform, just be like, hey, we don't want you on our platform. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. We'll relocate. Most of the people are watching on Facebook anyhow. So I will take the show to where the audience is.
Yep.
So that's what I did. I created a Facebook page. I transferred all of the custom graphics over. I uploaded all of the videos, which I thought was going to get me shut down. But I uploaded all of the videos. And within the first week, like it's been a week, we have 120 followers on Facebook. The views are 10 times what they were on YouTube. So, yeah, the show is still there, but I'm not.
Yeah. Good to have it there for the Twitter sharing and everything, of course. So, so I love this because this is like a culmination of like all the little things that we've done together over the years. That's thrown and it's helping you. I imagine this is helping you with your lockdown quarantine situation over there as you're working from home.
It does help. It gives me something to do other than I was spending an absorbent amount of money on Lego. And I'm not talking like little Legos. Like I was buying like $100 Lego sets.
Jeez.
Every week. And I'm like, okay, let's stop doing that.
Why not create something on my own? Yes.
yeah. And so, yeah, when this came up, I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. And then, I mean, the fishing helped. That gets me out of the house and away from people. But yeah, for the most part, the content creation works. This works a lot better than the game journey. Because, fun fact, here's a thing I learned on the second attempt at the game journey. No one reads anything on the internet anymore.
We're saying the numbers aren't great over there?
No, they're not at all. No one reads articles, especially about video games. No one wants to read a review about a video game. They want to watch people play the video game and then talk about it, which I don't want to do. I won't write you 1,000 words on any video game on the planet with no problem. I do not want to be put on the spot playing in that video game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep doing it. And it's going to get the same amount of attention that it's always gotten. But the audience is in video.
Yes.
I'm going to be in video.
We'll put our pickle on our game journey. Chachi, where can people go check out everything out?
On Twitter at Chachi Says, on Facebook. Actually, you know what? Just go to putapickleonit.net.
Wait, you got that?
Yeah, .com was already taken. It'll take you to the Facebook page.
Okay.
It's not an actual website. It just takes you to the Facebook page.
Fantastic. Hey, perfect to get things going, right? So
yes.
Fantastic. Go check it out. Supporting our friends here on the AwesomeCast. Go check out Put a Pickle on It, and we'll get back to the conversation here. All right. I don't know how I'm fitting all that in.
The camera not
all right,
high enough.
Record. Don't broadcast.
I'm not using the camera on the laptop because that's just not quality.
Oh yeah, that's the rule.
It's not a quality camera. It's just crap.
It's I mean, it's mostly okay. I mean, you're not 100%. I'm getting a little bit Oh, hey, you know what? Before we go, check your settings. Go back into that settings. And there's a thing that tells you about quality that you're sending and receiving. Double check what that's set at. I'm guessing. Oh, you know what? My receive resolution's at 360.